What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and we're continuing our coverage today as we kick off the new month and the new theme with the first in our 31 Days of Disney, The Emperor's New Groove, featuring the voice talents of David Spade, John Goodman, Eartha Kitt, Patrick Warburton, Wendy Malick, Tom Jones, and Jim Cummings. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. I appreciate you joining me here today as we kick off a brand new month and a brand new theme. And we're going to try to wrap up with our 31 Days of Disney, the Snow White lineage. Now, some of you guys may recall I started a couple years ago doing the Disney animated films as we celebrate each year the birthday of the Disneyland theme park. I started off with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the most recent film is Strange World, which we are going to get to this month. But before we get to that, before we get to Lilo and Stitch, before we get to Meet the Robinsons, Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Frozen, Wreck-It Ralph, Encanto, etc., we're going to kick the month off with The Emperor's New Groove. And as our movie opens, Incan Emperor Cusco has been spoiled his entire life, and as a result, has become incredibly conceited. On the day before his 18th birthday, Cusco announces his plan to destroy a nearby village and replace it with Cuscotopia, a lavish summer home, despite the objections of the kindly village leader, Pacha. Cusco also discovers that his elderly advisor and alchemist, Yzma, is attempting to usurp his duties, so he quietly fires her. Yzma and her bumbling henchman, Kronk, plan to poison Cusco's wine and take over the empire before the news of Yzma's termination can become public. However, Kronk takes the wrong chemical vial from Yzma's laboratory, which accidentally turns Cusco into a llama. Yzma then orders Kronk to knock Cusco out and take him outside of the city and kill him. However, an attack of conscience and a series of mishaps causes Kronk to drop the sack containing the unconscious llama. The sack lands on the back of Pacha's cart, and Pacha is able to leave the city before Kronk can catch up to him. Cusco awakens in Pacha's backyard, having lost some of his memory, believing that Pacha transformed him and then kidnapped him. Cusco orders Pacha to take him home, which Pacha refuses to do unless Cuscotopia is canceled. Despite Pacha's warnings, Cusco ventures into the jungle alone, where he is pursued by jaguars until he is saved by Pacha. Cusco begrudgingly agrees not to build Cuscotopia if Pacha will take him back home. On the way to the palace, Cusco tries to renege on his promise, and he and Pacha end up fighting on a collapsing bridge before being forced to work together in order to escape some crocodiles and a crumbling cliff. Meanwhile, Yzma discovers that Kronk lost Cusco instead of killing him, and the two of them set out to find him. At a roadside diner, Pacha and Cusco arrive at the same time as Yzma and Kronk, but neither party initially notices the other. However, Pacha overhears Yzma's plan to kill Cusco, and Pacha is able to sneak Cusco out of the diner, but Cusco thinks that Pacha is trying to trick him, So he and Pacha fight once again and part ways. As Kuzco tries to catch up to Yzma and Kronk, he overhears them discussing his assassination and also learns that nobody in the Empire misses him. He flees into the jungle in order to try and find and apologize to Pacha, but he can't find him. Kronk later remembers where he had seen Pacha before, and he tells Yzma. The next morning, Kuzco finds Pacha, and the two reconcile. They return to Pacha's village only to discover Yzma and Kronk in Pacha's house, posing as distant relatives. Pacha's family distracts Yzma in order to give Pacha and Kuzco the opportunity to get a head start. However, Yzma and Kronk still manage to confront the duo in Yzma's laboratory. Yzma orders Kronk to kill the duo, but after another attack of conscience and some insults from Yzma, he tries to kill her instead, causing her to drop him through a trap door. As Pacha and Kuzco flee Yzma and her guards, Kuzco tries several potions without success, finally figuring out which vial is the human potion. And Kuzco, Yzma, and Pacha all fight over it. Yzma is transformed into a cat by one of the other potions, and Pacha nearly falls off the side of the palace, causing Kuzco to have to rescue him and let Yzma have the vial. With some teamwork and an inadvertent assist from Kronk, the two recover the vial. After becoming human once again, a newly reformed Kuzco begins to make amends with the people that he hurt and builds a much smaller summer home next to Pacha's village. Meanwhile, Kronk goes on to become the leader of a scout troop with Cat Yzma as a reluctant member as our movie comes to its close. I was dreading the day I was going to have to sit down and watch this movie to review it. I'm not a huge fan of David Spade's. I'm not a fan of this movie. I've seen it a few different times before. Don't want to give an exact number, but I've probably seen it about a handful of times because people that I know or cared for or even loved this movie and they wanted to sit through it. So, in an effort to spend time with them, I sat down and I watched it. Never really cared for it. And I feel like my reasoning is sound, it's justified, and there's multiple levels as to why I don't care for this movie. First of which, obviously, is David Spade. As I said, I'm not his biggest fan. I liked a little bit of the stuff that he did on SNL. I think he was best with Chris Farley, even though I never really saw any of the Spade Farley films. He's one of those presences that just grinds my gears. And then there's the likability factor when it comes to Kuzco. And this is a Disney movie. Most of the heroes are likable. And for 98% of this film, Kuzco's a dick. Just straight out. He is a self-centered, arrogant, conceited prick. So as all this stuff is happening to him, you're like, I don't care. You deserve it. And yeah, he has his moment of clarity towards the end. He has his come to Jesus moment where he realizes what he's done and kind of repents his sins. And him and Pacha end up legitimately becoming friends instead of just using Pacha for what he needed him. But at that point, you're just like, but how long is it going to last? How long until you flip your switch again and you go back to the old Kuzco? Because this, I don't believe this. The guy I sat here and I watched for an hour, I believe that Kuzco. I think that's the real guy. This guy I'm seeing for the last 5 minutes, the last 10 minutes, that's not real. When we're going to go back to this guy, because this is the real Kuzco. And it's just so un-Disney of Disney to do this, because you're watching this and you're just like I said, you have no sympathy. And you stand by Pacha. Hell, for a good chunk of the movie, you're even standing by Yzma. Because at the end of the day, she wanted to kill the son of a bitch because he was just such a bastard. And even though Yzma is supposed to be our villain, for a good chunk of the movie, you're like, well, he kind of deserved it. He had it coming. And I have a hard time getting behind a movie where for the good chunk of the movie you're on the villain's side. But it's not a horror movie. See, you can kind of justify it in some horror movies because the killer has motive. You know, you understand why Pamela Voorhees killed the camp counselors that tried to revive Camp Crystal Lake after watching the counselors that were there allow her son to drown and die. Pamela Voorhees has motive. You can get behind her. In turn, when Jason takes over in the sequel, after watching his mother get killed, you get behind Jason as a killer because now these people took his mother away from him. We won't go into the subsequent sequels where things start to get paranormal and just crazy, but the first few movies you can really get behind it. You know, you sympathize with Yzma, and it's just like, dude, I don't know. I just I've tried watching this movie multiple times, and at no point do I come out of it like, man, that movie was good. That movie was better than I remember. I think I need to be easier on this movie going forward. Nothing like that. None. So I know there's a lot of people out here that love this movie. I give The Emperor's New Groove 1 out of 5 stars. It's just not for me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, light me up in the comments. Let me know how you feel. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. And if you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Intelligently, tell me why I'm wrong. Debate me. Let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. If there was ever a movie where I'm anticipating you guys lighting me up in the comments, this is it right here. So give it to me politely, intelligently, articulately. Debate me about this because I'm not doing this just for clicks. I genuinely feel this way about this movie. So let's discuss it. And make sure you guys tune in later on this evening, right here to the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, and across the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media as we once again present the Saturday night shenanigans that are Open Mic Night. Myself, the West Coast Professor Jeff Meacham, the Simple Man Noah Foster, the Heeb Man James Hebert are all going to come together in the studio once again, along with whichever members of the extended multiverse of media decide that they want to enter the studio and engage with us in our conversation about the week in professional wrestling. And then tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, it'll be time once again to step into the war zone. That's right, it's time for another edition of the Weekly Acquisition Report, the show where I, the Renegade, show you, the viewers, the latest additions to my ever-growing movie library. But it doesn't end there tomorrow, as we will also have our second episode for the month of Renegades Reviews as we continue our 31 days of Disney, and we'll be discussing Atlantis, The Lost Empire, featuring the voice talents of Michael J. Fox, James Garner, Cree Summer, Don Novello, Phil Morris, Claudia Christian, Jacqueline Oberdors, Jim Varney, David Ogden Stiers, and Leonard Nimoy. You don't want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, on the Jeff Meacham Network, across the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media, Open Mic Night, The War Zone, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and so much more coming up this month as we go through 31 days of Disney. You don't want to miss any of it, so make sure you smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Statboy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE watch-along coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life, fans of Disney movies, fans of David Spade, fans of John Goodman, fans of Eartha Kitt, fans of The Emperor's New Groove. Anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them, as it's the only way we're going to keep my visibility up in YouTube's algorithms now that we are, in fact, a monetized channel right here on the platform. Thank you once again to everybody out there who joined me and tuned in this afternoon. It means so much more to me than you guys will ever know. And I will see you guys next time.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.